What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of SSPN Offseason. And Ethan, we finally got the schedule of Victor Wembanyama's first season as a San Antonio Spur. And of course, all the rest of the Spurs that will be continuing their growth. And CD Sissoko, can't forget about him as well, that will be on this Spurs roster for the most exciting season that we've had. I mean, really, that's a great way to start off, Ethan. What was the most recent season that you feel like you had this level of excitement for going into it?
Ooh, this level of excitement? I'd have to go. That's a tough one, Jude. Probably 15, 16
Okay,
when we signed LaMarcus Aldridge.
I like that. I like that. That's a good one. Mine would have to be 17, 18, the Zaza year.
Yeah, but was that 17, 18? I thought that was
hmm
16, 17.
No, you're right. You're right. It
Yeah,
was
that's
16,
16, 17.
17. 16, 17. Yeah, that year with the Jonathan Simmons
Yeah,
half
yeah.
court buzzer beater at halftime against the KD Warriors, and then of course the way that the first game against the KD Warriors was looking in the Western Conference Finals.
hmm
It just felt special going into that season, despite it being after Timmy's retirement. It
Yep.
kind of felt like the coronation of the Kawhi era. And we all saw how that went, but it led us to the Wemby era, Ethan. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. The Spurs and the NBA have released the 2023, 24 NBA schedule. So we're going to go month by month, kind of skim over the games, give kind of our thoughts on that. And then also talk about the amount of nationally televised games that we have, Ethan. So we'll dive into all of that. But before we get into that, Ethan, what are just kind of your overall thoughts in Spurs world since we last talked?
In Spurs world, continually growing with excitement, Jude. I mean, there's really not much we can talk about other than the pictures that some of the guys have
Right.
been posting on
Exactly.
Instagram and on Twitter. Like they seem to be in a great place mentally with each other. We talk about the Wemby getting the hair to match Sohan, Keldon Johnson choosing a couple funny songs
Oh
to be
yeah,
lifting
the
to and
Let It Go.
let it
That
go,
was so
Devontae and
good.
I
Did
think
you
there's
hear?
another song too. What
Did,
were you saying?
sorry, not to interrupt you, but to touch on the Keldon Johnson "Let It
Mhm.
Go" working out video.
Yeah.
Y'all go check that out on. Well, actually, it's probably off of Devin Vassell's story
By now,
now.
yeah,
But I think it's on Twitter. There's
for sure.
definitely some people who reposted it on Twitter, so you should be able to find it on there. Um,
Mhm.
but did you hear Devin like slip a little bit in
Uh-huh.
that video? We won't
Yeah.
we won't repeat what it says so we don't get demonetized. But I loved what I just it was like it was just such a good reaction. I love the vibes of the guys.
Yeah, the team chemistry is looking it's continued to grow because last year it was also really high, but this year I feel like we actually know their personalities more,
hmm
and it feels like there's a lot more off-season, like, um, what content that they're putting out
hmm
on their own individual accounts, like, more
Yeah,
so than in years past. I don't know if that's because their relationships are just stronger or maybe they're just also
probably
excited that they're with
younger.
Wemby. Yeah, that too. Well, I mean, even in, like, the past 2 years, we've still been
That's
young, but
true.
they really
That is
haven't
true.
posted that much of each other. Like, it's
Yeah,
been, like,
for
individual
sure.
pics, but they're all posting each other now, which is kinda crazy. Um, and I had one more thought that I wanted to CD, I don't know if you saw, he put a TikTok on his Instagram story
I
today
did not.
of it was like and his caption was like, "Nah, this like for real or something." And it was people in Texas right now. It's a guy walking outside, and he just a skeleton is like lit on fire,
Oh,
and it's like
no.
I feel bad because he's from France. Like we
I
forget that
know.
he's definitely not used to this Texas heat
Yeah.
like that. Uh,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, they're definitely getting thrown into the fire
Literally,
for like literally. Yeah. Um But yeah, man, I had to get your thoughts on that because there has been a lot of stuff out, like you were saying. And I think also it kind of ties in with the fact that they just know like this core is going to be together for the
yeah,
most part. Like there might be some things, it's the NBA business, so just naturally probably it won't be the entirety of this group of guys that will stay together moving forward, but still this kind of seems like the core. And when you get Wemby in, you've got that stability centerpiece where
yeah,
before last year, it's like everybody's kind of expendable. Now it's like, okay, we can kind of, these guys are complementary pieces, alongside Wemby, and even in some cases, you could say more than complementary. So I think probably everybody just feels, as the franchise feels a little bit more secure drafting Victor. I think the team does as well, which probably lets him feel, let loose a little bit more on social media for sure. But Ethan, let's dive into today's episode. Are you ready to go over the schedule?
Let's do it.
All righty. For those of you guys listening on podcast form, if you want to go over to YouTube and check out the video version of this, we'll be scrolling through the schedule with all the logos and really giving you the full look. So check that out if you don't want to, and that, or if you do want to, excuse me, if you don't just want to listen on audio. But it starts off with San Antonio, ESPN, 7:30 against the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic. Ethan, I know that this isn't a month, but we got to just talk about this opening game on ESPN, because when's the last time that happened?
Probably, I think it was back when we played the KD
There
Warriors
you
in,
go.
in
Right.
16-17, and we actually won by like 30 in that game.
hmm
So yeah, I think that might have been the last time. It's been a while.
Yep, that is going to be such a great opener. I'm sad it's not in Dallas for you, Ethan, but
Yeah.
I'm happy it's in San Antonio just for the Spurs fan vibes. But to start off, got that Dallas game. We'll go to Houston after that, still at home, and then a little bit of a road stretch to end off October, the shortest month of the season, just 4 games, the last week of the year, or excuse me, the last week of the month, ending off with the Clippers and the Suns. So that's a really tough stretch to start the first 4 games for Wemby. But we'll see what happens. Hopefully they can get the dub in the Rockets game. But there's really no point to predict wins or losses yet. But that's not that's a little bit of a tough stretch. It'll be a welcome to the NBA moment for sure. But the Rockets game, even though it's less established, star-studded, if that makes sense, Ethan, it's still going to be a super fun game to watch with all the young talent.
Yeah, absolutely. And these first 4 games will be a great test for Wemby because I feel like he'll play more games early than he will late.
Yeah.
Especially depending on how well we're playing. Like if we're really losing in that first half of the season and it's
hmm
clear that like we don't have a play-in tournament chance, like he'll definitely start sitting out the rest of the season and we'll just aim for that high pick. But these first 4 games, I mean, he'll be going against Derek Lively, Jabari Smith, and Alperen Şengün,
hmm
Zubats, and then DeAndre Ayton. So like that's a pretty good test. Like those aren't like the best players, but Lively's a defensive presence and an athletic, strong, big, defensive minded. Zubats is a real big body, and then DeAndre Ayton, when he wants to, he's one of the
hmm
more skilled centers in the league. And I know he's had his problems as far as being coachable, but he's got a new head coach and a new team around him. So it'll be interesting to see how well he plays against those guys. He probably, like you said, has the highest chance of playing well against the Rockets because they are still young. And they have guys like Jabari Smith who are also skinny, but then Alperen Şengün, he's not to be messed around with either.
Yeah, for
He's
sure.
pretty good on that low block.
And it'll also, once again, this will be interesting to see where Wemby is positioned on the
True.
floor and who's he's matched up against. Because, like you said, you say the Derek, we were talking about these centers, and who knows, he might be guarded by fours. But I
Very
also
true.
just want to talk about the Mavericks game. I think Derek Lively is going to help them a lot. I think he was a solid pickup for them.
Agreed.
But also at the same time, and I know that this wasn't their full roster, but their interior defense last season was definitely a point of weakness.
Hmm.
And so I think that could be a game where, Wembanyama could have a little bit, of some open space in the paint, especially because really, I mean, Alperen and Jabari Smith is even more length than, I mean, is it going to be Maxi Kleber
No,
starting
it'll
at
be
the
Grant
four?
Williams,
Okay, well there you go.
and
But
he's
that's
only
still
6'6".
right. So that is the perfect, matchup for Wemby to exploit there, at least in these first 3 games, because you got a big body of Zubac. I know that the
Hmm.
Clippers play a little bit of small ball, but like even Batum's bigger than Grant Williams.
Hmm.
And then
Well,
of course the Suns, you've got KD
KD.
and DeAndre Ayton. So good, the Mavericks. Maybe we could see a little bit. We saw the Dom Barlow performance.
True, but I
I
will
don't think it's going to be like that, but maybe Wemby might be able to, get some boards and some easy buckets in the paint in that game.
I will say this though, like Grant Williams, say what you will about his height, but he is a very versatile defender and a strong body.
Yep.
So this is what people were scared of for Wemby, right? It's guys in that
Right.
that size, like a Draymond Green, a Grant Williams, that are like 6'6", 6'7", that
Kenny
could push him
Lofton.
around a little bit. Kenny Lofton, like, is he going to get bullied by these guys that aren't necessarily known as like bullies? You know what I mean? But like
No,
Wemby being
exactly.
seven
That
foot
that
four,
It's honestly a really good. I mean, as much as the obviously length and height wise,
Mhm.
Wembanyama is going to have the advantage there. You're going to see right away when he has to match when Grant Williams checks him, because he
Yeah.
will check him in that game.
And same goes for Jay Sean Tate, guys like that with the Rockets. And then
Yep.
the Clippers, I didn't think about this, but there were lineups last year where who was playing the four?
Is it Kawhi?
Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. Right, exactly. This will be a tough stretch, but all those little matchups for sure, especially like when you get to see Grant Williams on night one. We'll get to learn a lot for sure. So Suns starting off November, then head over to the Raptors, Pacers, New York Knicks, the Timberwolves, which is, I think this is the
Mm,
first game of
it
the
is.
in-season tournament, it looks like. So that's something we'll have to remember. So November is the in-season tournament. That's
Correct.
really what we kind of that we'll start paying attention to. Miami is also in that month. Oklahoma City, Sacramento, Memphis, LA again, Golden State, Denver, Atlanta. So that seems like a pretty tough schedule again
Yes.
in November overall, on top of the fact that there's going to be a little bit of more heightened stakes with the inaugural edition of the in-season tournament.
Agreed. And one of those games is against Oklahoma City, the other one against Minnesota. And that OKC game, I don't know if it's that one or if it's another one, but was our quote unquote rival game of
Oh,
the year. And
yeah.
like I sort of
Oh
get
my
it, I
gosh,
get like it's
dude.
definitely not our rival, like Oklahoma City. But what they're doing is they're shoehorning the whole Wemby versus Chet. That's the angle.
Wasn't it also the Blazers
The
too?
Blazers, and that will be
Yeah.
Scoot versus
And
Wemby.
that's one they're really making, because like at
Mhm.
least with the Thunder, it's like there's some history there,
Yeah,
with like the Harden Russ KD series. We're divisional rivals, right?
yeah.
But the Portland one, they're just, I mean, don't get me wrong, it will be a good rivalry, especially with Scoot's comments before the draft, but definitely the NBA manufacturing a rivalry there
Oh,
for
but
sure.
don't think that they won't be rolling out old Sean Elliott to discuss his Memorial Day
That is
miracle
true.
against the Blazers. They're gonna
Well,
really
thank
crank
you for
that up.
reminding me of that, because I forgot that they were playing the Blazers in that. That's a good point.
That's what they're gonna try and make that like
That's a
a
good
bigger
point.
deal than it
They can
actually
do
is.
that. Yeah,
Yeah, they
yeah.
can. And then Sean will of course talk about it because he loves talking about it.
Oh, Sean.
Gotta love Sean.
Man, this is just any final thoughts on November, Ethan? I didn't mean to cut you off, but I mean this is
No,
just a
no.
lot of playoff teams,
It's gonna be
really.
tough, man. I mean,
You got the Pacers.
yeah.
That is the only team this month, Ethan, that was
Mhm.
not at least in the play-in. Yeah, because
Yep.
Atlanta was in the play-in. There's only the Pacers were the only team in November that weren't, a play-in or playoff team. So
And
there
that's
you
no
go.
easy that's not an easy out either.
Right.
Like they have Tyrese Halliburton who's on the up and
Benedict
up.
Mathurin on his
Benedict
second
Mathurin.
year too. Miles Turner. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh.
And
Yeah.
Jarris Walker, the rookie.
Yeah, yeah, another great addition for them too. And I feel like I'm forgetting somebody else. I know TJ Warren's on the team, but I feel like they have another three.
I don't
Might be
think TJ
forgetting.
Warren's on there anymore, is
Oh
he?
no,
Or did
you're
he?
right.
Yeah,
No,
it's been a
he's not.
while.
He was on the Suns last year. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm way off. I don't.
No, it's
that
all
was
good.
that was in my memory.
Yeah,
But
they
yeah,
have someone else. I can't remember who.
no easy. Buddy Hield. That's who I was thinking of.
Buddy. Yeah.
They no easy entry for
No.
Wemby right off the bat. It's just going to be into the fire for him. So we'll
Mhm.
obviously a lot of learning moments, but also a lot of growth,
Yeah.
honestly. But it will be interesting to see. Ethan, you mentioned earlier that probably he'll play more games in the beginning than he will at the end, which I still do agree with overall. But when I'm looking at the schedule, I wonder if they're going to manage it a little bit more in the
Yeah, they
beginning,
might.
just because of like this November, like I said, one team that's not a play-in team, and then that team is the Pacers with Miles Turner, who is going to be a hassle for Wemby to deal with a lot. So, opportunities to adjust very quickly for sure. No, this is probably another reason, when you're starting to look at the schedule, that he didn't play in the FIBA World Cup.
Yeah. I mean, look at that.
Yeah,
I don't think we have yet to see like an easy dub, except for the like Rockets, and they're not an easy dub at all. Like
yeah.
they're a much
It's
improved team.
and they got freaking Cam Whitmore at 20,
Yeah,
like
that's
on
crazy.
top of Amon Thompson. So let's move on to December, which doesn't look any easier to start either. New Orleans, Houston, 2 games in LA, back to New Orleans, Milwaukee, Chicago, Dallas, Utah, Portland, 2 games against Portland. This will be really fun. This will be a
Yeah,
great
that'll be a good
stretch.
time.
And then Boston.
Boston.
So I would say that this is a little bit better than November, but
Slightly.
not by much. Yeah.
Slightly. I'm concerned. I haven't actually done a deep dive on this
Oh, and
yet,
I
so I'm
forget
glad
about
we're doing it.
Portland. Portland might actually be good too. Like if Dame plays.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
it's
he getting traded? I know there's all the Harden stuff. Not to hard
no,
pivot here,
yeah.
Ethan. Have you heard anything new on Dame?
I have not.
Me
I do know
either.
that he
Okay.
reposted a Miami Heat fans post on their
Okay.
Instagram story. Like they posted his new rap that just dropped, like a screenshot of it from
Uh huh.
Spotify, and was like, "Looking forward to hearing
Right.
your music in Miami." And he reposted that. Um, so he
Yeah.
clearly wants out still, but
Right.
I don't think
Okay.
that they're any closer to it.
Well, that'll be interesting. If he's on the team, then that might be tougher. I mean, not saying it's going to be an easy win regardless, because you've still got a lot of talent on that
Yeah,
Blazers team. But if it's just Scoot and not Dame, that those might be the two. That honestly, objectively, that might be the two easiest games on the schedule so far,
for
and
sure.
still not guaranteed wins.
I'm thinking mostly about the matchups for Wemby here. Pelicans, Zion, and Valanciunas are the 4 and the 5. The Lakers,
Yo, my
AD,
boy's playing point guard that game.
dude. The Lakers have
My
AD
dude's
and
playing
Rui
the two.
Hachimura. Like, like none of these have been
And
like
Braun,
easy matchup.
yeah.
Braun, yeah. Oh my God, I forgot about LeBron James. Scroll down a little bit more for me.
Okay, let me do that for you.
Pelicans again. Giannis
Yep.
and Bobby Portis and oh my
Vucevic,
Vucevic. Honestly, Dallas might be
Laurie,
one of the easiest
Walker
matchups for him.
Kessler. Yeah. Yeah,
Even
for real.
Portland has Jeremy Grant and
Nurk.
Nurkic. Like those are good defenders, and
Yep.
Nurkic is just a big body. And Boston maybe because they only have
They're
Chris
well,
Porzingis.
yeah. They'll have Chris Stapps now. Yeah.
At least that physically, that's a better matchup for them.
And I don't know what they'll do with the lineups there in Boston now,
Yeah,
but you can definitely play Tatum at the 4.
he could. They also have Robert Williams who can play the 5, like a small ball 5. He might run
That's true
around.
if they wanted to play Chris Stapps at the 4 too.
And then of course, old man Al Horford,
Mhm.
who's a
Yeah. Man.
difficult play for anybody.
We have not gotten to anything easy, Ethan. But when I did skim through it earlier, I think it was like it had to get until January until it was like, okay, here's like some sort of like a breath, like just like a little bit of an inhale,
Yeah,
like nothing crazy.
tough.
But I don't really have any other final thoughts on December other than just another tough month.
Yeah, like you said, those Portland games will be pivotal for our morale. It seems like to try and get a couple dubs.
Maybe that's the more I'm looking at the schedule, I get why they made that the rivalry.
Yeah, and I'm really focused on the Wemby matchup, but at the
Right,
same time, like we do have a good, like a better team overall than
right.
last year, and guys like Devin and Keldon,
Should be
they'll play
a
well.
right. Sorry
Like
to
so, we'll
interrupt you
no,
there.
you're good. So we should get more wins than we're actually like giving ourselves credit for
Right, we're
theoretically.
forgetting about Malachi and Jeremy's second year
Yeah, as
jump.
well. That
Right,
true.
for sure. Something else that we have to factor in. But look at the start of January.
Oh my god.
I mean, we got so for those of y'all listening on podcast form, Memphis, Milwaukee, Cleveland, Detroit. So I know there's the Detroit in there,
Yeah,
but the
that's nice.
Memphis, Milwaukee, Cleveland, like, and it's like the thing is Detroit, like they're not going to be as bad as we're thinking about them either because they didn't have Cade Cunningham all last year, dude.
Hmm.
Like, they're still not going to be. I mean, I think that that's definitely one of the more winnable games on the schedule, but not, just like a easy hand it to you, especially,
Hmm.
another year of Jalen Duren. I could go on and on. Anyways,
Yeah,
they're doing a pretty good job. Who did they pick this year? Asar and
Asar.
Asar. Yeah, lots of talent in Detroit. Obviously, still in the kind of infant stages, but high upside.
James Wiseman,
Looking forward. Yeah.
Marvin Bagley. Like they got some bodies over
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So January definitely looking a lot better so
Yeah.
far. After the Detroit game, Charlotte, Chicago, Atlanta, Boston, Charlotte, Washington, Philadelphia, OKC, Portland, Minnesota, Washington, Orlando.
A lot of
Yeah.
winnable games.
By far the easiest month
Yes.
that we've read so far, but also, it's not like you still don't have your 76ers, your Celtics and your Bucks in there too,
Hmm.
So
Yep.
but a lot more winnable games there. So That's why I'm saying hope maybe they might want to manage the reps a little bit more at the beginning and let them play a lot more in January.
I
Looking
could
at
see
the
that.
schedule, just all things to keep in mind when it comes to how they're going to manage Wemby's reps this year. But January seems like the best year.
Hmm.
The best month of the season for the Spurs so far. Let's move on to February, Ethan. Do you think, okay, now that we're in February, do
Hmm.
we get we were talking about the hair and how we should do like like the team should have coordinated hair, at least Jeremy and Victor, like they should do like, like a promotion at the games where they give everybody like the hair that Jeremy has. They should do a Valentine's Day themed hair.
They should
Mm-hmm.
half a heart on each of their heads so they can like
Mm-hmm.
come together.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then but like before the game, it should be like I don't know. I was gonna say they should make it broken and then fix it afterwards because they're
Mm.
breaking their opponent's hearts. I was trying to do
Ooh.
something with that. Didn't really work out. February starts off with the Pelicans, then we move on to the Cavs, the Heat, the Magic, the Nets, the Raptors, the Mavericks, the Kings, the Lakers, the Jazz, the Timberwolves, the Thunder, and that is it. The shortest month of the year.
A
That
leap year.
one, I think, right. I think that one will be that looks a little bit better than
Yeah,
January, but still kind of I would say that I would rank it the second easiest.
for sure. Agreed.
Alrighty, let's move on to March. So trade deadline passed, Ethan. We're gonna have a who knows if Devonte Graham and Kem Birch will still be on the team. Starting off in March, the Pacers, the Rockets, the Kings, the Warriors back to back, the Rockets, the Nuggets, the Nets, the Mavericks, the Grizzlies, the Suns again, the Jazz, the Knicks, the Warriors, Nuggets. Oh no, excuse me. That Nuggets game is at the beginning of April, so ends with the Warriors. That is back into some tougher games, Ethan.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But the only thing we can hold on to is hopefully a lot of these teams are like set in their ranking at this point, and maybe we'll start resting some of their guys, or
Yeah.
just mentally have shut down for the playoffs, and we might get a couple easy wins there.
And what I'm kind of thinking about now that we're getting into the last month of the season, I'm pretty sure here,
Hmm.
Ethan, is that, you know, I'm forgetting exactly how I wanted to word this, but what I was trying to get to go to is the point that like that middle stretch of the season that looks a
Hmm.
little bit better. The nice part, this is what I was going to say, is that the nice part about that is if that is where we play Wemby the most, is we should have, even if there's a lot of losses and a lot of mistakes prior with the
Hmm.
way that schedule looked, we should like have our feet under us as a
Yeah,
team. Like we should have our chemistry down. We should be able to work through the kinks and stuff. So then we do get to that part of the schedule that has a lot more winnable games on it. We should have a lot of the chemistry and the other stuff down that you won't have to work through at the beginning of the season. Does that make sense?
for sure. Absolutely.
Alrighty. Let's go to April here, which I believe. Yeah,
Last month, yes, sir.
yeah, a little bit, not kind of like October, a little bit bigger than it. But Denver, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Memphis, OKC, Denver, Detroit. It's literally, dude, it's like a sandwich. This
Yeah, it is.
it's like but the buns are just super hard. You know
Oh,
what I'm saying?
yeah. Oh, I feel you.
The beginning and the end, it's just it's not super enjoyable, but that middle, mm,
Beautiful,
hmm.
beautiful, beautiful middle.
What are your overall thoughts kind of now that we've just gone through this schedule?
It's going to be a tough year, man.
Mhm.
As much as I love what we've done, the additions in free agency, the trades that we've made,
Mhm.
obviously drafting Wemby, the improvement that can be expected from Devin, from Keldon, from Trey, everybody else on the squad, Jeremy, Malachi. Um, we're still at the bottom of the barrel, and
Yep.
we will have some learning uh, pains again because a lot of the things that we may have figured out last
Right.
season, we have a whole new set of issues as far as chemistry is concerned. Finding out where to best play Wemby, who's going to get minutes because we have some competition for rotational minutes this season.
How
Something that
everybody
we
fits
didn't.
around Wembenyama.
There's a lot of things that we have to figure out and a lot of pains that we will have to endure yet again. But at least we know, like you said, we
Right.
have our centerpiece. We know what we're building toward. We're not lost. There is an
Mhm.
end game here. So excited, despite the fact that we might have a lot of L's by the time April 14th rolls around.
Yeah, I kind of, Ethan, remember like midway through the season last year, we did a report card and I was like, boys, let's just get to 20 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of this year, I'm just like, I think with Wembanyama, with his type of talent, I know there's going to be some adjustments, but I think 30 is a reasonable mark.
Yes. I
If
think I
it
made a
to
bet with my
show
dad.
some improvement, you know what I mean? And ideally you could even have more than that. I've heard a lot of like 34 and 48, kind of like that type of range for the Spurs, like maybe,
Yeah.
enough to be under 50 but still like, not above the 40 win mark. So I think 30 wins, that's a good, like, just a realistic kind of like, let's try to get there to
Mm,
prove to ourselves that we have made some improvement despite the fact that we still got a juggernaut of a schedule. And the other thing not listed on there, Ethan, is, I mean, not saying the Spurs are necessarily going to be the favorite to be in contention for this,
mhm.
but there may be more games on the schedule depending on how they do in the in-season tournament. So
True.
that's another thing to factor in as well. And I wonder, well, I think actually, now that I think about it, those games won't count. It would only be if I think you get to like the last two games, and those
Yeah.
won't count towards the record. But still, you never know. There could be some more Spurs games on the schedule, Ethan. Any final thoughts?
I'm gonna go with 33 wins.
Okay.
My dad is an optimistic person. He guessed 45.
Wow. I've actually had, one of my closest friends that who is not a big Spurs fan. He told me he thinks we're going to make the playoffs.
Is this who I
So
think it is?
I think it's who you think it is. He's a yeah. He
Okay.
doesn't like the Spurs at all. And he that's what he told me. So
Lakers fan?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I
yeah. You know who it is.
I know who it is.
Anyways, shout out to him. He got me the Drew Eubanks signed poster up here. But shout out Drew, by the way, also.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, we're over here as the Spurs fans. We're both like in the 30s, probably. Like, so,
If
but
we're
there's
lucky.
some other people who are kind of, they're just jumping straight on the hype train. But I think it'll still, especially after looking at that schedule right there.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be tough to contend for the play in for sure.
But it's a great thing if you're just a basketball fan because like the whole
Mm-hmm.
league is pretty good. Like nobody's
Uh huh.
trash anymore. Like it's maybe 3 teams that are like bad.
Right.
Everyone
And
else is
even the
pretty
bad
competitive.
teams, it's like they have
Yeah,
talent. Like
definitely.
that's why I was talking about Detroit, dude.
Yeah.
Like, yes, they're Detroit. But also, like, when you watch them now, like, dude, you've got Jaden Ivey,
Cade
Cade
Cunningham.
Cunningham,
Mhm.
Jalen Duren, and Asar Thompson. If you take out Jalen Duren, those are all top 5 picks. That's 3 top 5 picks on one team. Like, I'm not saying they're gonna win games. I'm just saying that's way more fun to watch than the Pistons 3 years ago. You know what I mean?
1000%.
Same
And
with
they
the
have a
Rockets.
who's their new coach?
Freaking
Monty Williams.
yeah, that's another reason to watch him right there.
Yeah.
Same with Ime Udoka in Boston. Oh Lord,
He's in
or not in
Houston.
Boston. I meant to say Houston, and that's why I said oh Lord, because now I'm like, oh gosh. I mean, it's just that he knows our crap, Ethan. I forgot
Mhm.
about that. I'm
You know
just
what?
remembering that.
Sorry to cut you off.
But Pop knows him. He
Yeah,
built him.
this is my one goal for the season. We can win 12 games, but if we do this, I'll be happy. I want to
Okay.
sweep Houston this
Yes.
season. Let's just aim
Oh
for
my
that.
gosh.
I don't
Yeah.
want anything else. Just sweep Houston.
There we go.
Please
I
let it
like it.
happen.
I like it, Ethan. I think that is a great way to end off this schedule recap. Please tell us your thoughts in the comments below. If you did enjoy the episode, don't forget to hit that like and that subscribe button. If you want to support the show in a different way, you can go and head over to sspn.myspreadshop.net, or you can go ahead and scan this QR code on your phone to go get you some SSPN merch if you so are inclined. That wasn't the best vocabulary, but we still got the point across there, Ethan. But what is good vocabulary is to follow us on Twitter at SSPN on YT, at Jude McLaren, and at Ethan_Quintero to stay updated with the show. I guess it wasn't good vocabulary, Ethan, because it's technically called X. But you know what? We're trying to do the transitions here to end the show, and we're going to end it off right now. We appreciate y'all. Go Spurs, go. Catch y'all later. Tell us your thoughts on the schedule in the comments below.